Okay, happy weekend, uranium friends. So this video will be dedicated solely to Global Atomic and Encore Energy. So we're going to talk about the recent private placements and, just to fully disclose, I am in no way, shape, or form a financial analyst. So, it's like reading a foreign language to me when I start looking at these balance sheets and whatnot. But so there are people out there who know, can actually surmise that something like this, like a financing, is coming. So, with Global Atomic, I mean, they've got to get this mine going. So it probably makes sense that they were going to need money at some point somewhere down the road, or obviously in the near future. So I don't have those answers, and it's just not what I'm going to do. I spend more of my time trading charts and using patterns and whatnot, and market psychology and sentiment and things of that nature. But all that being said, so what do I do in these situations? First things, let's get over this over to this chart, and I just want to show you what I do because it's always going to be here now. So you'll see this white line that I put here. Well, this is the level, um, 350, where they did this financing with the warrants. So I have that marked on my chart. So at the moment, I have this line brighter. So when it comes after this video, I will dim this down. It won't be nearly as bright, but it'll be just enough for me to see it, but not enough to interrupt my chart. And there's my text, right? Private placement, 350 Canadian, warrants at 440 with 36 months to expiry. So that's how I mark up my charts. And you'll see I don't have any lockup dates yet for global, but I will show you on the Encore chart what I do when I have the known lockup dates. So, and by the way, um, you can go to Global's website, and when you want to take a look at this prospectus, you come down and you look at the CEDAR filings, and you'll be able to see the prospectus. So this is where I'm getting the information from on global for the for this recent round. Okay, so what do I do normally in these situations? Well, I like to get in on the same prices that the institutional guys do. So what did I do? Well, I bought a piece. I did not take a big piece here because you know, it's not there, and they have some language in this prospectus that is not clear to me. Again, I'm not a financial analyst, so I can't really tell you either way. But my general rule of thumb is that there's usually a broker discount with these things, whereas they can probably get in on this thing like 10 to 15% below. So, yeah, and I did post this in the Uranium Squeeze Reddit room. So I took a little position right at this 350. I took a piece on that, and I also placed an order for 10% below. So I subtracted 25 cents, 35 cents rather. It's Global Atomic. I'm doing it in the United States. So I took it at 260, and then I subtracted 25 cents. So I put another order in at, I think I put it at 225 actually. So if that gets hit, then that's still my play, my personal play on this financing deal. So that's what I did with this. So I'm marking up my chart, and I placed a small order. I did a small buy at this level, and I also have another small buy down here. Now global is a different story for me because I can't just put my automatic stop losses in, or I can't bracket my orders the way I can with Encore now that it's on a big board, which is, makes Encore a little bit more attractive to me because of that. But so that's the deal. So 350 Canadian, because we are on the Canadian chart right here on the TSX. So 350, and then I placed another order down 10% below because I'm allotting most of these financings, quote unquote, usually have a broker discount attached to them. Okay, I don't need to go through the filings. It's just how I operate. It's how I've been doing it for over a decade, right? So most of them do, not all of them do. Maybe Global does, maybe it doesn't. But in the language in the prospectus, what Global does have is for their over allotment, it says that I think it's Red Cloud that's doing it. They have the optionality um, to potentially sell these over allotment units for less. So again, I would refer you to the prospectus I could be wrong on that, and someone can tell me if I am, but that's the deal with that. So that's my trading plan on that. So if I get that second order filled down here, then I'm going to be looking down at this support level where then I'm just wrong, and there's more pressure on the stock, and I'm probably going to be getting out of those ads. All right. So a quick look at the weekly rather. And yeah, I mean, you could see the financing. It wasn't received well. And this is what they normally do. A lot of times, if you believe in whatever company it is and you think that the fundamentals are good, a lot of these financings, they can prove out to be opportunistic for adding. And, if you're a believer in global and the fact that they're going to be able to get this DASA mine up and running within the cycle and be able to move product at a favorable rate, you know, these are the spots where you might want to be willing to take a shot at it. So, but I still always stick with my charts. But I do know that I've put an order down here in this area because of the potential for a broker discount. So then I will know that my true stop out area on these ads is going to be at 288, 289. Let's just take a look and see what it is. Yeah, so 288. I hold the core, and these are just ads. So that's the deal with global. All things considered, on the weekly chart, it's still holding support. It's still within its range, right? So as bothered as some people are because of dilution or anything to that effect, well, here we are. We're still in the range, you know, and that's just what it comes down to chart wise. So when you start to look at this monthly, you can just see again, it's a range, and we're consolidating at the highs. So is this horrible? Well, maybe, time's going to tell with this financing, but at the moment, we're just sideways in a very tight range, consolidating it at the highs, and we're kind of dealing with this whole stacked moving average situation. So, I mean, it was working its way above, and then the financing kind of beat it up. But, you know, these are key levels. 327 is obviously a key level, right? A weekly double bottom. And there's your range, really, 327 to 441. If you want to be a little bit tighter on your range, you could say 418. So 327 to 418, that's your trading range right now. I mean, that's just as simple as it gets. So, um, I like to play these ranges. So, like I said, I have another order down here, and hopefully it gets filled. And then I will probably take a partial off if it starts getting back up to this resistance. Just how I roll. I don't necessarily even care about the fundamentals. I know they have a great story. That's the deal. We have a gap to fill on the daily. Those ads that I made down here, if this gap fills and gets to the top of this range, I'm selling those ads, and that will just go to reducing the core, my cost basis on my core. So that is global in a nutshell on the financing. Okay, so yeah, a lot of people don't like it. I view it most of the time as an opportunity. So just to review now, they have sold $100 million worth of units at $350 per unit. Okay, the shares are $350, and they get a half warrant. So a lot of times, what happens with these types of financings, there's no lockup here, right? So the people who have jumped on this financing, often what they'll do is they'll sell the shares, and they will keep the warrants for free. So these warrants have a 36-month expiration, and it's going to be a 440 a share. So 36 months from now, or from the closing, we don't even know when the closing is. We could expect to see possibly some pressure on the stock at that 440 range, if it does so happen to get there. Okay, it's gotten close before, so it actually would be like an all-time high for them, I think. Yeah. So that's the deal. Okay, so that's my approach. It's always going to be my approach. I use a general rule of thumb, just to repeat. Okay, I take a partial because this is an OTC name for me. I take a partial on this, and I put another order down 10 to 15% below, because that's general rule of thumb for me personally, over the couple of decades that I've been doing this stuff, these financings and these brokers usually get these deal discounts on stuff like this, and it's usually like 10 to 15%, some less, some more, however it's structured. So I don't even bother getting too nutso with looking at all these prospectuses. I just assume that's what it's going to be, and I make my play that way. Either way, there's good support down here, and if it breaks, then we're going to be looking at 288. I mean, it's just that simple. So that's the deal with GLO. Now, Encore, a little bit of a different story, and we'll talk about it right now. Okay, so Encore is the same deal. Now, what I did here with Encore is I took a position at the financing number. I think I got it at 240 or 241, right? Wherever it is, wherever they announced it. I did a buy here. I have not placed an order down below 10% below because I have optionality here. Because it's now on a big board, I can place bracket orders and stops, and I can play it that way. So I still assume that there's going to be another 10% broker discount that they might be able to execute on, but there's nothing that says in the prospectus anything about that. The language was clear in the Global Atomic prospectus, and I encourage you to look at those prospectuses. These guys got to fund Alta Mesa purchase and whatever else they've got going on. It makes some sense that when these mining companies get involved and they make purchases and they have huge capex, well, they got to raise funds unless they got a ton of it in the bank, and that comes from reading their cash structure and their balance sheets, which I'm not the best at. So I try to save that stuff for people who are smarter than me in the money world. So I just play the chart. So I've made my marks here. This is where that financing is. And I took a piece here, and I will bracket my order, and I will try to probably put a sell up here, and I'll put a stop down here. And again, because we're just in a range. So you could say whatever you want about these financings and how it killed the stock and there's dilution, but, well, I mean, Encore was actually looking better because it was just breaking out of the range, and then they killed us with this financing, right? But it still is technically in this little trading range from 213. This kind of opened up the range a little bit. So it's a 213 to 297, right? So that's your trading range. So what I've done here, because I'm able to, let me just show you Encore's site, and you should check that out as well. You can do the same thing. This is Encore NG. This is their share structure. So you can see all these warrants that are coming due in the next year. Here's your dates. So, we're going to see there's some overhang that we're going to be running into literally in April, and then again in October. The October one's a big one, right? Look at the size of that. April's not so bad, but go into March of next year, and we're looking at some interesting stuff. So, you keep that in mind. So I forget, I'm old. So what do? Again, I marked up my charts, and again, I will dim these down so it's not going to be noisy. It's just for video, but here it is. I lined up these dates. I put the information in. So now you've got it at a glance on your chart if you need to do it. It's a good way to do it. You can put notes in your broker or whatever. So that's the deal with Encore. We have some unlocks coming as soon as April. So, it's something to be aware of, and that's why it's nice to have it on a chart, because I always forget. I'm an old man. Okay, so back to the daily. You had your gap down. I did my little buy right here at 240. I think I got it at 242, actually, was my number. And I'm going to set my stop probably below 213. I may actually want to just do another ad on my 10% theory of the broker discount. There is nothing. The only thing that says in the over-allotment in the prospectus that I saw, and again, I am not Mr. Financial or Fundamental, but what I saw in the prospectus is that in the over-allotments, the underwriter can choose to just sell or buy just warrants by themselves, or a combination of shares and warrants. So, for those of you who read prospectuses, I would encourage you to go do that. Okay. So again, how do we know these financings are coming? Well, you got to have a little bit of a financial savvy in that stuff, right? So you have to be able to either pay someone who does this stuff for a living to analyze your companies. Sometimes those are newsletters. Sometimes those are independent houses. Maybe you have someone in your family who reads this stuff. I have a nephew who's a hedge fund manager, and he's a CFA, and I could run stuff by him, but I'm not going to bog him down with all these names. He'll just be like, "Hey, listen, buddy, when I'm done in the corporate world and we set up our family office, then we'll do more. But for now, you got to find someone that can do it. Newsletter writers, if they provide that service, are good. Or someone, maybe you yourself knows how to do it, or take some classes or whatever it is. But that's the deal. Basically, like this Alta Mesa mine or whatever it cost them, go look at their balance sheet. How much free cash flow do they have? Is it anywhere near to being able to cover the purchase of the mine, or at least the first tranche in it or whatever? Those could be just small clues. But again, I am not a financial analyst in any way, shape, or form. I barely pay attention to this stuff other than being able to mark up my charts with these financings, right? So I have my charts marked. I'm good to go on that. And again, it's just in a range, and it's kind of closer to the top of the range. Yeah, this thing, this financing beat this up a little bit, right? But it was still rejecting at the 200-day moving average, just like it did here, just like it did here. And this might have been where the last financing was, because they did one. They might have done it in October, somewhere wherever they did that last one, But Encore is respecting the 200-day moving average. I mean, it's just that simple, and it's still just in a range. So that's the deal. Again, another name consolidating at the highs, right? So is it the worst thing in the world right now? No. The space is doing well. Look at the volume. So that's the deal. That's how I play these financings. Um, some people might capitulate. I'm always looking at them as opportunity. This is why I trade around the core. So when things get either to the tops of their ranges, or we have these little events, that's where I take a little piece. I'm sorry, I sell at the tops of the ranges and I buy at the bottoms of the ranges. And when I have these little events like this, well, those are usually opportunity. There might not be an opportunity that plays out within a week, but they usually are opportunity. Just remember, yes, they diluted, but also, yes, someone's interested in putting a whole lot of money into this company. So they don't just haphazardly do it, right? They do some research, they do some due diligence. So nothing wrong with getting on board with institutional financing. It's just define your risk. So it's pretty simple to see. If Encore breaks 213, it's problematic. You know, everything tells you that it's problematic. Okay, we're on the weekly here. Look at the giant vacuum in volume profile here. So, this is the support. So if 213 breaks down, it could see some further weakness just from that alone. You have some gaps down here, and just not a lot of price action below 213 to support it. So when things rocket up and they don't develop support areas, you could probably see something at $1.08. If you look at the monthly, what is this low right here? $1.91. That's going to be your last line of defense, really, before big time fall downs. If and the markets. How is the uranium sector doing? How's the broad market doing? All that stuff. Okay, so that's the deal. That's how I handle the financings. Like I said, I encourage you to go to their websites and check out the prospectus on it. And when they close, when the actual financing closes, and we have the full details, mark up your chart. So, or put notes in your broker. Most of your brokers have a little section for your names where you can put notes in. I like doing this because it's right there at a glance for me. I don't have to open up my broker every single time. I don't have to do any of those things. I have it right there. So I've got my private placement level, and I've got my levels where the warrants are expiring. So, okay, Global Atomic, Encore, private placements, a little bit of surprise. Is it a buying opportunity? Is it a selling opportunity? Does it show confidence in the institutions on their things? I mean, listen, Global Atomic, is it accretive because, well, they needed to get DASA going? Yeah, it could be. Is Encore accretive because they needed to fund Alta Mesa? Yeah, it could be. That's up to you, right? I am not a financial analyst. I don't do this stuff. I never did this stuff for a living as far as financial analysis is concerned. I have people that I can go to when I have questions, and you need to have that too. If you're not able to do that stuff, you need to find someone who you can ask questions to. Like I said, either a newsletter or a family member, or maybe you have that ability. Okay, so over and out. See you next time.